That's what one of them barked as he flashed a fake badge under the burning afternoon sun. Except I already knew the moment he opened his mouth. Those weren't real cops. I'd been in law enforcement for 14 years, and this wasn't my first rodeo. But let's rewind a bit. My name's Jack Turner. I'm a deputy U.S. Marshal, and 3 months ago, I bought a brand new Ferrari 812 Superfast. The one thing I'd promised myself after years of chasing fugitives and risking my life on the job. It wasn't about the money or the luxury. It was about a goal, a reward for surviving everything life had thrown at me. So, when I moved into a quiet suburban neighborhood to finally get some peace, I didn't expect that my biggest problem would come from the homeowners association, and more specifically, from the woman who ruled it, Karen Williams. You know the type. Perfectly trimmed lawn. Nose always in someone else's business. She treated the HOA like a personal kingdom, and every neighbor like a subject who had to bow to her will. The first time she saw my Ferrari parked in the driveway, her lips twisted like she'd just smelled garbage. "We don't allow flashy vehicles here," she said, arms crossed, glaring at the car like it personally insulted her. "This is a family neighborhood, not a racetrack." I smiled politely. "It's street legal, ma'am. And my property. HOA rules don't forbid it." She didn't like that. Not one bit. From that day on, it was war. Karen began filing noise complaints even when my car wasn't running. She sent me letters claiming I was bringing down property values. Once, I caught her taking photos of my car, and of me, pretending to be documenting violations. Then came the warnings. She left a note on my windshield that said, "Remove this vehicle or face consequences." I almost laughed. I'd faced armed fugitives, cartels, and smugglers, but never a suburban HOA dictator. Still, I stayed calm. I figured she'd get bored and move on. I was wrong. It was a Saturday morning when things turned dark. I was washing the Ferrari in my driveway when I saw 2 police cruisers rolling slowly up the street. At first, I thought they were on a routine patrol. But then they stopped, right in front of my house. 2 men got out, uniforms, badges, and all. But something was off. Their vests didn't have department patches. Their belts looked cheap, like Halloween props trying too hard. "Sir, we have a report that this vehicle is stolen property," one said. "Stolen?" I raised an eyebrow. "By who?" He flipped through a fake notepad. "It belongs to a Mr. Jonathan Reed. We have orders to impound it immediately." Now, I'd run enough operations to recognize bad acting when I saw it. And these 2 were terrible. I smiled. "You got a warrant?" "Don't need one. It's under investigation." That's when I knew for sure. They weren't cops. I looked past them, and there she was. Karen, standing behind her white picket fence, recording everything on her phone with that smug, satisfied grin. She thought she'd won. I wiped my hands on a towel and decided to play along. "Well, if that's the case," I said calmly, "you wouldn't mind showing me some ID?" The taller one hesitated, then flashed a shiny badge that looked like it came from a costume store. I took a good look. The numbers were printed, not engraved. No hologram. I said, nodding slowly. "Tell you what, gentlemen, give me a second. Let me call my superior." I pulled out my phone and dialed a number. Not my boss, the local sheriff. Within minutes, 2 real squad cars were on their way. The fake cops didn't even realize what was coming. While waiting, I turned to them. "So, this Jonathan Reed," I said casually. "He must have reported the car stolen recently, right? What precinct did he file it with?" They looked at each other, lost. Precinct 7, one stammered. There was no Precinct 7 in this county. I smiled wider. "Interesting, because I'm a deputy U.S. Marshal, and I can tell you right now, this car's registered under my name." Their faces turned pale. I stepped closer. "You've got about 30 seconds to explain who sent you before things get ugly." That's when Karen stepped forward, yelling, "Don't listen to him. He's lying. He's probably some criminal who stole that badge." The irony almost made me laugh. Just then, the real sheriff's cars pulled up. The sirens pierced the air, and the 2 fake officers froze. Sheriff Daniels, a good friend of mine, got out of his car, hand on his weapon. "Jack, what the hell's going on here?" I raised a finger toward the imposters. These two claimed to be cops trying to impound my car. Funny thing is, their badges don't check out. Daniels took one look at them and frowned. Hands where I can see him. The imposters panicked. One tried to run, bad idea. Within seconds, both were face down on the pavement, handcuffed and yelling excuses. When they were searched, it got worse. They had fake police IDs, zip ties, and get this, a tow truck key. They were planning to tow my Ferrari right out of my driveway. Daniels looked at me, shaking his head. Someone went through a lot of trouble for this. I nodded toward Karen, who was now standing there with her jaw hanging open. You don't think? He started. Oh, I do, I interrupted. And I'm willing to bet those two didn't come up with this on their own. Daniel sighed. You want to press charges? Not yet, I said, glancing at Karen. Let's see how far this rabbit hole goes. That night, I reviewed my security camera footage. Sure enough, the fake cops had arrived right after Karen made a call on her phone. Not just that, she'd texted one of them earlier that morning. I could see the reflection on her sunglasses in the video frame. She'd set the whole thing up. The woman actually hired imposters to steal my Ferrari, under the guise of a police operation. But she didn't know who she was dealing with. I was no ordinary neighbor. I was a U.S. Marshal with full jurisdiction to open a federal case. And I decided that night, if she wanted to play games, I'd show her what real justice looked like. The next morning, I woke up early, not for work, but for justice. Karen thought she could get away with hiring fake cops to steal from a federal officer. That wasn't just petty HOA drama anymore. That was felony territory, impersonation, conspiracy, attempted grand theft. And I was going to make sure she faced every single charge. I called Sheriff Daniels. Hey, Dan, I need a favor, I said. He sighed, already knowing where this was going. Karen, huh? Bingo. We met at the precinct, where he handed me the case file on the two imposters. Turns out, their names were Troy and Devin Miller, brothers with a rap sheet full of scams and petty crimes. They'd done time for posing as security officers at construction sites, stealing tools and equipment. And now, somehow, they had uniforms, badges, and a plan to steal my Ferrari. Daniel said they weren't talking much, but one of them let slip a name. Some lady named Karen paid us. That was all I needed. I didn't want to storm her house or make a public scene. Not yet. I wanted her to sweat, to realize that crossing me was the worst mistake of her life. So I played it smart. That afternoon, I parked my Ferrari out front again, spotless and shining like nothing ever happened. I washed it slowly, casually, knowing she was watching from behind her blinds. Sure enough, within minutes, her front door cracked open. She peeked out, her face stiff, pretending not to see me. I waved cheerfully. Morning, Karen. She froze, then quickly shut the door. Perfect. 2 days later, I got a call from Daniels. Troy and Devin flipped, he said. They gave us her full name, phone number, and even text messages. You want to take it from here? I smiled. Oh, absolutely. We got a warrant for her phone records. And what we found was insane. She'd contacted the Miller brothers through a Craigslist ad they'd posted as a private repossession company. She'd paid them $5,000 to remove a stolen exotic vehicle from her neighborhood. The kicker? She told them the owner, me, was a dangerous ex-con pretending to be a lawman. It was all there. The messages, the voice notes, even her little selfie with the fake cops before they came to my house. I could have had her arrested right then, but I had one more card to play. That evening, our HOA held its monthly meeting at the community clubhouse. I made sure to show up early, in uniform, full badge, sidearm, and all. When Karen walked in and saw me sitting there, she nearly dropped her binder. I stood up. Evening, Karen. Her voice cracked. W, what are you doing here? Oh, just here to discuss some neighborhood issues, I said with a grin. Like impersonating officers, attempted vehicle theft, conspiracy. You know, the usual HOA stuff. The entire room went silent. I walked up to the front table, dropped a thick manila folder in front of her, and flipped it open. Inside were printed screenshots of her messages, the Craigslist ad, and photos from my security footage. She stared, eyes wide, face draining of color. This isn't what it looks like," she stammered. "Oh, I think it's exactly what it looks like," I said calmly. "You hired 2 felons to steal my car and pretended it was police business. That's federal crime territory, Karen." The HOA board members gasped. One even muttered, "Oh my God." She tried to gather herself, clutching her pearls like some kind of victim. "I was just trying to protect the neighborhood. You're intimidating. That car." I cut her off. "Karen, your personal feelings don't give you the right to break the law." I turned toward the board. "As a U.S. Marshal, I can confirm we have a full investigation underway. These are the people you put in charge of your community." The room erupted. Neighbors who'd been bullied by her for years finally spoke up. Stories of fines for harmless things, threats, even lies about people breaking HOA rules that didn't exist. Her power crumbled in front of everyone. Finally, Sheriff Daniels stepped into the room. Perfect timing. He walked straight to her. "Karen Williams, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit theft, impersonation of law enforcement officers, and filing false reports." The sound of those handcuffs clicking shut was pure music. She looked at me with pure hate as they let her out. "You'll regret this," she hissed. I smiled. "I doubt it." A few weeks later, things in the neighborhood were peaceful again. No more passive-aggressive notes, no more ridiculous fines, no more HOA power trips. The board held a special election and voted me in as HOA president. Mostly as a joke at first, but I took it seriously. I made it clear. We're here to help neighbors, not control them. Funny thing is, people started actually liking our HOA meetings after that. And my Ferrari? Still parked in the driveway, right where it belongs, cleaner, shinier, and more admired than ever. Every now and then, someone new moves in and asks, "Hey, what's the story behind that Karen lady who used to live here?" And I just grin and say, "Let's just say she learned not to mess with the wrong neighbor." Because when you pick a fight with a U.S. Marshal, you don't just lose. You get taught a lesson you'll never forget.